Think about this. Presidents have speechwriters. They have advisors. They have communications directors, press secretaries, and teleprompters. And yet, somehow, they still say things that make the entire country stop and ask, did he really just say that? From crude hot mic moments to shocking political remarks, American presidents from both parties have said things that were embarrassing, offensive, or just completely unbelievable. Things that no amount of spin could fully walk back. Things that history recorded, replayed, and never forgot. Today, we're counting down the 25 most insane things US presidents have ever said, on the record, off the cuff, and sometimes when they thought no one was listening. To keep things fair, the list includes presidents from both parties, and no president appears more than 3 times. If you think these conversations are as fun as I do, hit that like and subscribe button. My name is Chris, and this is the Think Report. Coming in at 25, Jimmy Carter. In a 1976 Playboy interview, presidential candidate Jimmy Carter admitted, "I've looked on at a lot of women with lust. 50 years ago, this was a very scandalous thing to say." Carter was trying to make a theological point about sin and human nature. He even quoted the Bible, but most voters weren't focused on the scripture. They were focused on the fact that a man running for president had just confessed to lust in the pages of Playboy. It was a defining moment of awkward political honesty.
I agreed to give the interview to Playboy. From hindsight, I would not have given that interview had I to do it over again. If I should ever decide in the future to discuss my deep Christian beliefs and condemnation and sinfulness, I'll use another forum besides Playboy.
Number 24, Richard Nixon, Republican. Nixon declared that the Apollo 11 moon landing was the greatest moment since the creation. That's a bold claim. Greater than the birth of Christ, greater than every war ever won, every empire built, every invention in human history. Scientists, theologians, and historians had opinions. Nixon apparently did not care. Number 23, we have Joe Biden. During a 2020 interview about voter demographics, Biden said, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community.
Yes, and by the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things.
The implication is that Black Americans were somehow not diverse in their political views. It landed immediately bad. Critics from across the spectrum argued it reduced an entire community to a monolith. The campaign scrambled to clarify what he meant, but the clip had already gone everywhere. Number 22, Lyndon B Johnson. LBJ was famous for being aggressively, almost performatively crude. But this one stands out. While showing reporters a surgical scar following his gallbladder operation, Johnson reportedly lifted his shirt, pointed at the incision, and announced, "This is my bunghole."
My bunghole will ask the questions.
The reporters were present, the cameras were nearby, and yes, the President of the United States definitely said that. Up next, we have Joe Biden. During a campaign speech, Biden told a story and dropped his line, "I love kids jumping on my lap."
And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. And I tell you what.
The crowd went quiet. The internet did not. Within hours, the clip had gone massively viral, stripping all context and being played on loops by critics. Whatever point Biden was trying to make, no one remembers. It doesn't matter. Number 20, Barak Obama. When Harvard professor Henry Louis Gates was arrested outside his own home, Obama weighed in at a press conference saying that the Cambridge police had acted stupidly.
And at that point, he gets arrested for disorderly conduct, charges which are later dropped. Now, I don't know, not having been there and not seeing all the facts, what role race played in that, but I think it's fair to say, number one, any of us would be pretty angry. Number two, that the Cambridge police acted stupidly in arresting somebody when there was already proof that they were in their own home.
The remark ignited a full political firestorm. Obama had to walk it back publicly and eventually hosted Gates and the arresting officer at the White House for what the press dubbed the beer summit. It was a rare moment where an off-the-cuff comment forced a sitting president to genuinely damage control. Number 19, Ronald Reagan. In 1981, Reagan said trees cause more pollution than automobiles do. Scientists were confused, environmentalists were furious. Reagan was sincere. He had long been skeptical of environmental regulations, and his remark became symbolic of an administration that viewed ecological science with great suspicion.
My fellow Americans, I'd like to talk to you today about our environment.
It also inspired protesters who famously taped signs to trees reading, "Chop me down before I kill again." It's clever. Next, we have Lyndon B Johnson. Johnson's competitive streak extended even to the bedroom. He allegedly bragged, "I've got more women by accident than Kennedy ever had on purpose." JFK was notorious for his affairs, but for LBJ to use that as a measuring stick and claim superiority tells you everything you need to know about the culture inside those mid-century White House walls. Gerald Ford. During a 1976 presidential debate, Gerald Ford looked into the camera and stated, "There is no Soviet dominion of Eastern Europe." The moderator gave him a chance to clarify. Ford doubled down.
There is no Soviet domination of Eastern Europe, and there never will be under a Ford administration.
I'm sorry, could I just follow? Did I understand you to say, sir, that the Russians are not using Eastern Europe as their own sphere of influence and occupying most of the countries there and making sure with their troops that it's a communist zone?
I don't believe, Mr. Frankel, that the Yugoslavians consider themselves dominated by the Soviet Union. I don't believe that the Romanians consider themselves dominated by the Soviet Union. I don't believe that the Poles consider themselves dominated by the Soviet Union.
The problem, of course, was that the Soviet Union very clearly and completely dominated Eastern Europe at the time. Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, all under Soviet control. Ford's gaffe became a major turning point in the race against Jimmy Carter. Donald Trump. At a 2016 campaign rally, Trump told the crowd, "I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose voters."
The people, my people are so smart. And you know what else they say about my people? The polls. They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
He said it laughing, the crowd laughed too, but the remark, an open statement that his supporters were unconditional and consequence-free, stunned political observers across the spectrum. It was the kind of thing candidates weren't supposed to say out loud, even though they believed it privately. Next, we have Bill Clinton. During the sworn testimony about the Monica Lewinsky scandal, Clinton delivered what became one of the most shocking legal statements in American history. "It depends on what the meaning of the word is what he said.
With Ms. Lewinsky, the statement that there was no sex of any kind, in any manner, shape, or form with President Clinton was an utterly false statement. Is that correct?
It depends upon what the meaning of the word is. Yes.
It was an attempt to exploit a grammatical technicality under oath, and while Clinton's lawyers may have seen it as clever, the rest of the country saw it as a moment a president tried to lawyer his way out of the obvious. It became shorthand for political evasiveness for decades. George W. Bush. Bush also gave us, rarely is the question asked, is our children learning?
Rarely is the question asked, is our children learning?
A sentence so grammatically confused, it became a permanent fixture of his legacy. The Bushism, a verbal stumble so uniquely his, became a cultural institution. Books were published, calendars were made. Is our children learning? Became an unofficial motto of a presidency defined in part by its relationship with language. Next up, we have Bill Clinton again. Earlier in the Monica Lewinsky scandal, Clinton stood before the American public, pointed his finger at the camera, and said firmly, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman."
I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
He was later proven to have lied. The image of that pointed finger became one of the most replayed moments of the entire Clinton presidency, and one of the most damaging. Andrew Jackson, who was also a Democrat, often considered the father of the Democratic Party, Andrew Jackson criticized the Supreme Court when they ruled in favor of Native American land rights. His response? John Marshall has made his decision, now let him enforce it. That single stance captured something deeply troubling about early American democracy. The idea that a president could simply ignore the highest court in the land didn't sit well. Shortly after, the forced removal of Native Americans, known as the Trail of Tears, began. Tens of thousands were displaced, thousands died. Jackson's defiance of the courts helped make it possible. Richard Nixon. When the Nixon White House tapes were eventually released to the public, historians got a window into the conversations that were never meant to be heard. In one, Nixon said of Jewish people, "They're just a very aggressive and abrasive and obnoxious personality." The tapes shocked the country. Nixon had cultivated a public image for years, and the recordings revealed a private man who was angry, paranoid, and frequently bigoted. The tapes remain one of the most disturbing primary sources of American presidential history. Number 10, Joe Biden. In a 2020 interview, Biden made a remark that immediately became one of the most controversial of his campaign. "If you don't vote for me, then you ain't black."
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
The backlash came fast and from all directions. Critics called it condescending, supporters called it a gaffe. Biden apologized within hours, but the clip, with its casual assumption that black voters belonged to the Democratic Party by default, had already done its damage. Number 9, George H.W. Bush. After a U.S. Navy warship accidentally shot down an Iranian civil airliner, killing all 219 people on board,
July 1988. A U.S. Navy cruiser is battling Iranian gunboats in the Persian Gulf. Suddenly, its radar picks up a mystery aircraft. Is this plane friend or foe? They have 7 minutes to decide. As the aircraft draws ever closer, the pressure mounts.
If you do not change course to 270 immediately...
And the captain is faced with a terrible choice. Shoot it down or risk the lives of his own crew.
Bush responded to the international outrage with this: "I'll never apologize for the United States of America. Ever. I don't care what the facts are."
I'll never apologize for the United States of America. Ever. I don't care what the facts are. I will lead her. I will do my level best to stand up for freedom and democracy around the world by keeping the United States of America strong and by keeping our eyes wide open.
To his supporters, it was patriotism. To critics, it was the definition of arrogance. To the families of the 290 people on that plane, it was something much harder to name. Number 8, we have Lyndon B Johnson. Johnson was also capable of something darker than crudeness. In a private conversation about political strategy and race, he allegedly said, if you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you.
Lyndon B Johnson.
His quote is, if you want to convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you.
Damn!
Whether you read that as a cynical critique of racial politics gone bad or evidence of something uglier, it's a remarkable window into how power operated behind closed doors. Number 7, George W. Bush. Trying to invoke the old proverb, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, Bush tied himself in knots.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. If fool me, we can't get fooled again.
You can't get fooled again. He landed on a classic The Who lyric by accident. The clip became legendary, played at comedy shows, on late night television, and in political science classrooms as an example of what happens when a prepared line goes completely off the rails. Number 6, Joe Biden. During a campaign event, Biden said, poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it.
He caught himself almost immediately and corrected it, adding wealthy kids to the sentence, but it was too late. The clip was already cut, already shared. A Freudian slip that revealed an unconscious association he probably wishes had stayed unconscious. Number 5, Donald Trump. During a White House COVID briefing in April 2020, Trump wondered aloud whether injecting disinfectant into the body might kill the virus. He asked a health official present, why don't we just inject disinfectant?
I'm going to ask Bill a question that probably some of you are thinking of if you're totally into that world, which I find to be very interesting. So supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute.
Within hours, poison control centers across the country were fielding calls. Lysol released a public statement urging people not to ingest or inject their products. Doctors went on television to issue warnings. It was, by any measure, one of the most dangerous off-the-cuff presidential remarks in modern history. Number 4, Richard Nixon. In a 1977 interview with David Frost, years after Watergate, Nixon attempted to defend his conduct with one of the most extraordinary claims ever made by a former president. When the president does it, that means that it's not illegal.
So what, in a sense, you're saying is that there are certain situations, and the Houston plan, or that part of it was one of them, where the president can decide that it's in the best interest of the nation or something, and do something illegal.
Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
By definition.
Exactly.
Frost paused. The audience paused. The entire country paused. It was a statement that cut to the heart of American democracy, and it came from a man who had already been forced out of office for abusing his power. Number 3, Andrew Jackson. During the nullification crisis of 1832, when South Carolina attempted to defy a federal tariff law, Jackson didn't just threaten legal action, he reportedly threatened to personally hang Vice President John C. Calhoun. Jackson was so furious at what he saw as a betrayal of the Union that he made the threat privately but unmistakably. It was the kind of remark that in any other era might have ended a presidency. But for Jackson, it was just another Tuesday. Number 2, Ronald Reagan. Before his weekly radio address in 1984, Reagan was doing a microphone test. Not knowing the tape was rolling, he quipped, "My fellow Americans, I'm pleased to tell you today that I've signed legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes."
My fellow Americans, I'm pleased to tell you today that I've signed legislation that will outlaw Russia forever. We begin bombing in 5 minutes.
During the height of the Cold War, with nuclear weapons pointed at each other, the Soviet Union officially protested. The White House called it a joke, but for a brief moment, the world genuinely wondered. Number 1, Donald Trump. In 2005, Trump was caught on a hot mic during a taping with Access Hollywood. He didn't know he was being recorded, and to be fair, he wasn't president at the time. But in the tape, which surfaced just weeks before the 2016 election, Trump could be heard describing how he approached women.
I'll admit it.
Whoa.
I did try and her. She was married.
That's huge news, Sarah.
No, Nancy. Yeah. No, this was marriages. And I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping. She wanted to get some furniture. I said, I'll show you where they have some nice furniture. I took her out furniture. I moved on her like a bitch, but I couldn't get there. And she was married. Then all of a sudden, I see her. She's now got the big phony tits and everything. She's totally changed her look. I better use some Tic Tacs just in case I start kissing her. You know, I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything.
Pull the ham.
Hello, how are you?
When the tape dropped, it triggered an immediate political earthquake. Republican leaders publicly condemned the remarks. Several withdrew their endorsements. Trump called it locker room talk and survived the scandal to win the presidency, but the tape remains one of the most explosive pieces of audio ever recorded in American political history. Presidents are supposed to be the most carefully scripted, precisely managed communicators on earth. Every word vetted, every appearance rehearsed, every statement run through a team of advisors before it ever reaches the public. But every once in a while, on a hot mic, in a debate, at a press conference, or in the middle of a sentence they clearly hadn't finished thinking through, the script breaks. And when the most powerful person in the world says something outrageous, awkward, offensive, or simply inexplicable, history tends to remember it forever. Not because it defines everything about them, but because in that unguarded moment, you catch a glimpse of something real. Something no speechwriter could save anyone from. Think about that.